Every one of us has a personal connection to this glorious city, a cultural or cathartic experience, a collective or iconic memory. No one could have predicted how its best known and tallest towers on the planet, proposed for peace and trade, could have become the mere opposite, a target for disconnect, destruction, and war. This is the story of the World Trade Center's lead structural engineer and his bond with humanity.
The FBI, police, everybody wanted access to our drawings because Port Authority's own records are all gone. So we were the only one who had drawings. And both FBI or the rescue workers, they needed drawings to see where things are, where the stairs are. All we wanted to do was to help. Because even back then, you're still thinking that there might be survivors.
Within these tombstones and sacred relics of lost humanity lay buried the framework of the future, progress, and a new century of building. The director of the Port of New York Authority, Guy Terzoli, was in search of a top-notch architect for the World Trade Center. Minoru Yamasaki's U.S. Science Pavilion intrigued him, a modernist who viewed public space differently, believing that piazzas could excite and bring people together.
Yamasaki was one of the people who was trying to push skyscraper design past the glass box. They didn't have enough life and enough sense of connection to humanism to them. And what he tried to do was make them more decorative, a little more rhythmic, as well as make them a little bit more daring from a structural standpoint.
It was a fascinating period in engineering. Moving to huge planes, light frames, very robust, very efficient use of material.
Terzoli offered the commission to the architect known as Yama, who had never designed more than 28 stories. Yet the idea of creating a cathedral for international commerce in the world center of high-rises aroused his interest.
It was conceived as a way of jump-starting redevelopment in Lower Manhattan.
Yama aligned himself with the talent-tested and trusted engineering firm of Worthington and Skilling. They hired a hotshot engineer from next door who had maintained a solid relationship with his previous employer.
And George and I got along really well together. He introduced me as, this is Les Robertson, my California screwball.
John Skilling, who I worked with for many, many decades, he used to say that Les Robertson was a genius. Anytime a firm has an opportunity to hire a genius, it's a pretty good move from a strategy standpoint.
Robertson was immediately drawn to the perceptive and soft-spoken Yamasaki, a new American rising star.
Minoru Yamasaki fully understood that that project was to be representative of buildings of the future, and that he had an opportunity and an obligation to make it that way. And he also understood that it was a young person's job. He was not a young person, but he knew he had the ideas to make it happen.
There were two high-rise innovations that would shape the World Trade Center's structural design. First, the IBM Tower in Pittsburgh, with each of its facades resting on 2 points. By applying his knowledge of electrical engineering and mathematics, the rookie engineer introduced an ingenious perimeter diagonal structure, which allowed for column-free open interiors.
I had developed a technique which was very different from the way engineers design things. And I went very sort of backwards.